Ask because now this is really sort of bing 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 for me in my brain, because my area my sector is creative. So when you think of anything creative and cinematic, that is about the human emotion, the attachment. So I think a lot of the people that I associate with, other people who are in the business, if they're not emotionally connected to it, it doesn't feel authentic. How do you I'm in this process of trying to understand how to build a creative business that actually makes money. Because so what, I'm asking for some personal advice myself. So what do you think are the key points? Because and Marie can speak to this, I get emotionally attached to a lot of the projects that I work on, and if people don't fall in love with it, I think I failed. How can I, if I was one of your clients, that you're one of your SMEs, what steps could you give me specifically for a creative business? Because at the moment now, the creative industry's really taking a hit over here.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess over in the US, but specifically for creative business, how can you build something that's creative but allow it to make money? Because that's really important.
The first place I start is you're clearly a passionate person. Like, passion is going to help drive you, and that's a wonderful thing. That's not a bad thing. So you let your passion drive you. You also have to go, at times that's going to influence your thinking in a way, right? So you're not going to be able to make as clear decisions. And that's where I think that often hurts creative people, is they're not making clear decisions because they're so attached to what they're working on. And so you have to find a way, I think, to both be incredibly passionate about it, and that drives you, and also be able to go, you know what, the vision I had on this part of this project or whatever, that's not going to work. That's not going to move the needle. That's not going to make us money. So I might have to cut that out. Or I may have to make changes to it. Like we're talking about this entrepreneur. I think passion is incredibly important. I'm the same way. I can't work on companies for very long that I don't care about. It's how I'm built. There are lots of people that can. I'm not one of them. And so, but I also now, and there were times, especially when I was younger, early in my 20s, when I was working on companies, I never wanted to look at why it wouldn't work, because I'd be like, oh yeah, I was so emotionally invested that anything I get that said, oh, this part might not work or this might not go well or whatever, felt like a personal attack. But as I've gotten older, it's much easier to go, what are the problems with this? And then how can I solve them? By taking a really honest look at things, it actually gives me the ability to solve those problems and actually have a much more successful company or much more successful relationship, whatever it is. You have to take honest looks at what you're doing and go, what are the problems? What are the potential solutions? And I think that can then give you much more freedom of thought and keep yourself from overweighing your passion and having that influence your thinking. Because I think it's really important to have clear thinking and a clear picture of what you're working towards and where you want to get and what those problems are going to be.
That's really helpful. So it's not allowing your passion to be the Pac-Man that's just chomping up all the air in the room to the point where it's contaminating any growth anywhere, because and I think that's the classic argument in the art world or in film. It's, the director has this vision and the cinematographer or the camera person or the actor saying, I just don't think it's going to sit very well in the general arc of the story, but the director is trying to reenact what's in their head, and manifest that in the real world, and sometimes it doesn't work. But that's going into my brain, that I'm thinking on that very much so. Maria, did you have anything?
I mean, to be honest, it reminds me of a little bit. So I work with a lot of creative architects, interior designers, and so some of the questions that they have, they'll say things like, "Oh, so the client wanted to keep these old cushions, but they don't go with the room. How do I get the client to get rid of the cushions?" Well, no, do you? That's just it. You just don't. You just design the room. You do what they want, and then, because they'll just put the cushions when you go, won't they? I mean,
yeah.
So it is that attachment. I think it's the attachment, but also I think it's that they seem to be scared to price because they're creative. You see what I mean? Because I'm a consultant. I work for consultants. I've worked for PwC. They don't hesitate in charging you £1,000 per day or whatever to tell you something that you could have Googled. So, but with creative people, I think it's different. They think, oh, I enjoy it. I love it. It's just what I do. And then so they get scared of charging a rate that's, you're charging for results. You're not charging for, the fact that you love it. It's great that you love it, but you're charging for results. I think that is also an issue with, creative people.
Is it also that this myth is prevalent that art should be for free, and if you're not dying for your art, you're not making art at all. I mean, we can't all be Vincent van Gogh slicing off our ear in a frenzy, or Edvard Munch, but I think I've got wrapped into that, if I'm not in pain and suffering and eating baked beans out of a tin can, this is not art. But does that necessarily make good art? Because I do think if you don't receive some sort of reward, whether it's a financial reward, financial reward, that painful part becomes even more acute. And then are you producing anything of any worth? Because deep down you don't feel appreciated. I mean,
we've kind of really made the starving artist a really romantic idea. And art, I feel like, is so subjective that it's really hard to say. You kind of have the starving artists that are like, this is actually art. We're starving. We're bleeding for our work. And then you have the other side that's like, New York City art galleries are like, no, this is art. Whatever we're saying is art is art. And it's a very personal and subjective thing, I think. The creative world is it's not a logical place, and that's probably a good thing, because I think art and beauty aren't things that we can necessarily put a price tag on, but they're really important.
Well, that's really profound. I love that. Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head, Peter. The creative world is not logical. It's not. So it's not 2 + 2 = 4. It's not logical. So you're trying to put straight lines into something that's curvy or wavy, and maybe that's where the innate frustration and sadness comes from, because you're trying to put logic, you're trying to apply an equation to something that is subjective. It demands space to move around and to breathe. That's really interesting. That's really good. That's very interesting.
I read a lot about artists. I love art, and I'm not an artist myself, so I wish I were. But.